all respect in the world for Michael Hayes, and we became friends a couple of years after all this, because Michael Hayes is first cousin John Tatum, and there were sides picked in this thing, but there was never anything said publicly. There was always that respect between us that we never ever got any kind of argument or anything like that. And so, but I always felt there were sides, and I wanted to get out while I could, and all of a sudden one day in Baton Rouge, Vince McMahon called while I was outside taking the garbage out to the dumpster. I'll never forget this. I was coming back through, and Missy says, Vince McMahon's on the phone, he wants to talk to you. So I took the phone, and he flew us up 2 days later to talk to us. I was going to get through a hot seat thing like Piper did. That was the deal with me. And Missy got her tryout that she did. That's at the same time that's what was going on there. So she went to work like for a month or something for him. So I gave my notice on a Saturday morning in Memphis. We worked Memphis on a Friday night. I flew in from meeting with Vince McMahon on a Friday. Decided I wanted to get fired on Friday night from UWF because I was under contract, so I thought I'd do everything in the world I could that night to get fired, so I could go to work for Vince. So
what'd you do?
I didn't really. I guess first I don't even know what the finish. I don't even remember what the finish was. Who I was working with. But I told Ken Mantell I didn't want to do it, and he had to do it my way, and he did it. That's what killed me. Everything got changed from my way that night. I was like, oh no. So my brother Doug, who was playing football then, it's his senior year though, I had him come to ring with me in Memphis because people knew him, and I thought, well, I'll introduce Doug, and surely Ken's will get mad about this, and he'll fire me when I get to the back. I got to the back, and they said, good idea. And I was saying, oh my gosh, what do you do to get fired here? So I left that night, and me and Missy talked, and we went to the USWA TV taping the next morning. I wanted to see Lawler and see everybody and say hello. And so we went in, and I decided that I was just going to call Bill Watts from the WMC TV studios. Now I'm working for the UWF. I've got Vince up here who's then told me all this, and I'm like, yeah, boy. And this is all I've ever wanted. I'm thinking things are finally falling in place here. Call Bill Watts. Bill, this is Eddie. I tell you, I'm just kind of, really not happy anymore. It's okay. I like to get out my contract, which he was very hard about that contract deal. He had you. He wasn't letting you go just about.
Well, now he had lost people already, right?
But they had finagled out before there was really contracts. When the UWF was formed, that's when the contracts came in big time. One Man Gang can tell you about this, and because he kept him like 8 months more than he should. Gang wanted to go to Vince and everything, and he couldn't. And let's see, Traeger. John, what are you doing over here? Put that down. Okay. Sorry. All right. And so when I called Bill, told him I want to get out of the thing, and he says, okay, but you know what, Eddie? I sure was thinking about giving you a shot at booking here. And I was like, the only thing in the world this guy could say that's going to keep me is booking. Because I started in 79, this was 85, 6 years later, I'm ahead of schedule, is what I'm figuring. Wow. We're on national syndicated TV. This was not Memphis, this is Bill Watts I'm talking to. And I said, really? He said, yeah. I said, when? So, and then he started telling me the whole thing. He said, as a matter of fact, I want you to book the next Memphis card. I thought, man, all right, I know exactly what Memphis wants. So I did the Memphis card, told Missy. So the deal was made that I would stay and be booker if Missy could get out of her contract and go to the WWF. She got out, she went, I stayed. Then the buyout came right after that. And then Missy stayed, came back after the buyout and went back to work for Crockett and with Dusty booking. And I was naive enough to think in my first meetings with Dusty that they were going to make it to UWF versus the NWA, but I soon found out. If you remember some of Ric Flair's interviews back then, he was shooting totally. So was Dusty. If you ever say it, Nikita, when they talked about the TV belt, and I said something on TBS one time about the NWA had its greatest legends or something like that, but UWF was the new generation or something like that. And Flair just went off when he went on his interview, and I could tell I got to him. And it was a lot of friction there, tension between the UWF guys and the NWA. All of a sudden I used to be able to book my own cards for UWF even with the buyout, and then Dusty started faxing me the cards for the UWF to use, and I knew then it was the demise. And I finally got out in December of '87 and I came back to Memphis in about January of '88, and that's where we did the firing of Lawler, where I came into the ring. Lawler was wrestling Tommy Rich, and my brother Doug hit the ring, and I wasn't scheduled to be there that night. I came in my clothes on and threw the big fireball in Lawler's face, and that's when I talked him into going for the fire. Got to start doing the fire for the deal. So we came to Memphis, stayed 3 months, got a call from Alabama. They said that they were new owner, wanted to change everything, and so they called me, and I said, yes, I'll go. And I went down there and booked for 6 months.
But now, what happened to the relationship when she's working for Dusty and you're up in Memphis for 3 months?
Oh, she came with me.
Oh, she came with you?
Yeah, her loyalty was there. She was with me through thick and thin during those times. So.
Okay, then you go to...
She came to Memphis and was just a valet, Missy Hyatt with me. I mean, she went from that star status of being with WCW, UWF to Memphis. She was okay, went to Alabama. I made her commentator there with Charlie Platt on the show, and that way she was doing her job, and that way I wasn't involved in the wrestling part, and I was able to book and everything. I liked Alabama too. I had good memories of Alabama.
Who brought you down there?
Jack Curtis brought me down there, and he was from the OUWF crew there, I guess you'd say. So he was Bill Watts that told him to call me if I come in, and I was real happy about that too, and it worked. We were successful. What was great was that UWF, when I took over, and I didn't know it, at the time. That's what was funny, and I've said this a lot of different times, but most time that I was successful, I didn't really know I was. UWF, whenever we went on our first national tour, I remember Amarillo, Texas, was pulling up there, and there were cars all over the front. I said, it's got to be something else. And we got inside. Terry Taylor, who was probably my best friend then, he was the best man in my wedding with Missy, and it took him and Missy telling me that we were successful, the gates were good, and that the TV was turned around. We were drawing people in Tulsa and Oklahoma City. Then the buyout came, which just totally got me. I thought, man. And then the thing with Dusty and the head games got me. I was getting really disinterested in the business or those kind of games, and came to Memphis. The fire angle worked. We saw Memphis jump back up again. So I was going into Alabama on a good high. Changed everything there. Changed it from being, I think it was Continental Championship Wrestling, CCW or something like that. And we changed it to CWF, Continental Wrestling Federation, so it'd be more into like the UWF was, and the WWF with the F there, Federation. Took all 3 belts, made one out of it, one area champion. That's what I worked the whole time I was there towards, was to have one champion. I had all the singles belts turned in, and we worked to a big tournament. The Road to Birmingham is what we called it the whole time I was there, and we worked up to that. I never made it to the Road to Birmingham. Got right up there, but never made it to the finished product of my booking there because of the owner. And I had this little, didn't agree on a few things. So that was the Alabama.
How long was the run there?
6 months.
And that's where you were first with Paul E?
Yeah, Paul E. I knew that Paul E. I'd seen Paul E.'s stuff, and I really enjoyed. I remember Paul. See, Paul was a photographer. Did interviews with me when he was like 13. When I was in WWF, when I was wrestling. I remember Paul from there, Paul Heyman. I remember being a photographer, and that I saw him a lot when I was up there at the matches and talked to him. And then he didn't know that whenever he got into the business, whenever he became Paul E. Dangerous, I didn't even remember who he was. And I saw him in Atlanta here in '88. I came down to do a tape for Tommy Rich in Atlanta for Blackwell then when he had his group going. And Paul was there managing, and he came up to me to shake hands, and he was going to say Paul like that, and I said, I know who you are. You don't have to tell me. I remember you. And he said, oh yeah. And I told him I liked his stuff, and so he said anytime that I had a booking job, or if I ever wanted to bring him anywhere, please give him a call. And whenever I got to Alabama, I knew it needed a manager, a good one. And Paul was the kind of guy that could draw Southern heat real good. Paul's the kind of guy who can draw all kinds of heat from everybody. But he's a good. I think he's a great talent for a business. And we had a good run there, and he helped me. I had Paul. That's when I took Doug and Paul were my 2, I guess you'd say, assistants, because both of them I wanted to teach anything that I had learned since I was like 12 years old. I want to try to let other people know about, because I figure that's the best. Everybody right now is worried about steroids and sex scandals in the WWF, and I think we all should be worried about the 500 channel super highway. How many wrestling channels we're going to have. So that's the things we got to be thinking about now. So that's
now you and Paul ran an angle with John here, didn't you?
With who?
Did you use John's name wasn't it?
I use John a lot. John, I use John a lot. John, come here and say, you gotta be seen. Come here, just come here. Let people see you. They may on a tape. They'll see you. They'll see you. Come here.